Okay, is this volume fine, people up there? You can hear me well? Okay, awesome. Thank you. So first of all, thank you, David. Thank you for organizing the Zigtoberfest. It's awesome. Last year was great. This year, even bigger. That's amazing. Thank you for the Spezi also. And thank you also for giving me the hardest talk slot, because people usually come back from lunch. They're a little bit tired. They want to sleep. If you're feeling like this, that's your fault. You didn't drink enough Spezi. Or coffee, yeah. But, or, you already mixed two things. Why not put Spezi in coffee? Once you're there. But, so here's the deal. You can doze off and sleep up until we get to the final 3-4 suggestions. So, to make it easy on everybody, this is going to be like top 10 things that you can do to make your software better. So it's going to be easy to follow along, but you can doze off, just wake up for the last 4. So yeah, I work at the Software Foundation. I do have YouTube. I do stream on Twitch. More importantly, how many of you have used Zine? Can you raise your hand? Okay, nice. I will be accepting complaints and feature requests today up until 7 p.m., more or less. So that's your time window. But good that all of you, or most of you, know I have a chance to use it, because I will bring it up occasionally as an example. Okay, let's start. Number 10. Don't rewrite, reinvent. So you learned enough Zig to be dangerous. What is your next step? Maybe you think, oh, I'll take an existing library in the C ecosystem, for example, and I will re-implement it for Zig. That's not a bad idea. And, for learning purposes, you can do whatever you want. My suggestion is, don't stop there. That's not your end stop. You're only barely halfway through, maybe not even that. Because here's the deal. We can use C library from Zig. So if your point is to make a library that is a one-to-one to the pre-existing C version, you basically are going to re-implement everything, potentially add some bugs to it because it's an implementation. And while you could have used we could all have used the original in the first place. So that's why there are organizations like All Your Codebase, where we package C libraries. That said, C libraries have all kinds of problems, and it is good to have Zig versions for certain things. But the point is that you are in a position where you can improve on stuff, and you don't just limit yourself to implementing it. And this is not just a matter of, well, you think that you're better than the original implementer. You don't have to be, because you can leverage all the work that they've done to make their own version, and then you have a bunch of free energy that they did not have probably at the time, because they spent a lot of energy to do the first part. And now you are in a position where you can spend some more effort and make it better, realize when there's something missing, when something could be done in a different way that turns out to be more optimal. We learn a lot of things in the Zig ecosystem compared to what people knew when doing C 40 years ago. So keep that in mind. Don't rewrite, reinvent. Number 9. Dependencies are technical and design depth. I need to write a blog post about this. I have one half written, never published it. But here's the idea. Depth is good. Depth is a genius human invention / discovery that, in my opinion, goes up there with fire and the wheel. Because with depth, you can accelerate things. But depth also is not just that. Depth is, well, depth. So that means that it's a great idea to use dependencies to hit the ground running with your new project. You want to make something, and fully doing that something from scratch requires implementing something complicated. I don't know, you're making a static site generator and you want to parse Markdown. Sure, you can write a Markdown parser from scratch, but you will hit the ground running much faster if you just use a dependency. But that should not be your end goal, because it's technical depth, because that dependency will do things in a way that you don't control. If you hit a bug with it, good luck. You will have to go and learn what's happening in that dependency. And I think even more importantly, it's design depth. You have a piece of functionality in your application that was designed by somebody else who did not have your exact needs, your exact taste even, and you're fine with it. And you shouldn't. So the idea is, start with dependencies, but eventually get rid of them, especially when it comes to critical stuff, to the core stuff that your application should be doing. So for example, if you use a dependency to parse CLI arguments, whatever, that's fine. But if it's a static site generator and you don't have your own templating language, or like you don't have any ownership over what the templating language does, that's not great, because that's a key piece of the experience that you are packaging and offering to your users, and you don't control it. That's bad. So dependencies are technical and design depth, and there's like two phases to it. Number 8, strive for tooling supremacy. So the idea is this. You're writing software and you have a bug in your software. How do you fix it? One way is you add print debugging and you watch the print statements come in, and you realize that one doesn't match your expectations, and so then you can fix the bug. But that's great and it works, useful tool. But then there's also debuggers. So you should know how to use debuggers. If you don't know how to use debuggers, you should. That doesn't mean that you have to use a debugger every single time you want to fix something. But if you don't know how to use a debugger, you're missing out. There's, for example, RR, the time traveling debugger that Andrew gave a workshop a while ago. There are a bajillion other tools, grepping for things in your code base, to things that your editor can do with macros or multi-cursor. These are all things that can help. So like the more tools you know how to use effectively, the better. And that doesn't mean that every approach is equal. Like you can have your preferences. I don't use Oak and I don't do sed chain invocations, but I know how to use grit grep, etc. So and I know how to do multi-cursor editing in my editor. So it's fine to pick and choose, but be aware that striving for tooling supremacy is a good thing. And it works both ways, meaning if you write software, your software should come with tooling. So you made, I don't know, you implemented some compression library. So you have your nice Zig module that you can import and perform compression with. Awesome. Put in the same Zig package also a CLI tool so people can use it from the CLI. You made an image format, do the same. Add a CLI tool for image conversion, for getting metadata about the image, etc. I'm trying to do this with my static site generator. I don't know, those of you who are following along with what I've been doing lately, I've not been working on Zin, the static site generator proper, but I've been working on SuperHTML, which is the HTML parser, which is also a language server for HTML. So, and the idea is that this is a tool that should support users of Zin. Not only that, but that's my main goal. So yeah, add tooling to your projects. If you use Zig init, you might have noticed that Zig init kind of hints at this, because Zig init by default creates two entry point files. One is root.zig, which is going to be your entry point for your library, for your module. And then you also get, I believe, main.zig, which is the entry point for an executable. And so the template kind of hints at the idea that if you're making a library, then maybe add a CLI to it. Or if you're making a program, then maybe some of the business logic that would make sense for somebody to want to use by importing it in their project, make that a separate module so they can import it without ending a dependency on all the other stuff that you need to run the CLI. So keep that in mind. Number 7, being multi-threading friendly makes you async friendly. I put this here because I know that a lot of people have PTSD, whether they know it or not, from using async in other ecosystems. And usually, async is this thing where it's like a virus. Now everything has to be async, and there's a lot of stuff that you need to keep in mind. And you say, man, but I don't even care. Why do I have to worry about async? If everything goes to plan, if the design turns out to be sound, which we don't fully know yet because we need to fully implement it, fully merge it, and have people use it. But the plan is that for your software to work well with async, all you have to do is the same exact work that you need to do to have your software work correctly in a multi-threaded environment. And just to bring up one obvious example so that we are on the same page. If you're making a library that is a parser, you don't use global variables to store state, right? To store state. You put state inside of a struct and you pass around instances of that struct. So you create an instance of a parser or an instance of an AST, and then that will hold the state for that one AST. And so if somebody, a user of your library, has this crazy idea, what if I have two ASTs, they can do that. this is funny, but the CMark GFM Markdown parser from GitHub has global variables that hold state. And so, yeah, people do get this wrong. Don't do that. But the thing is, that's all you have to do. And in theory, your stuff should be fine with async, given how it's being designed. So that means that you don't have to worry too much about async yourself. Okay, number 6. So we're getting closer to the more interesting ones. A single assert can be worth 1,000 unit tests. This is another blog post that I plan to write. Long story short, unit tests are weak. A unit test, it's an automated version of you clicking around your program, like doing one run through your program and asserting that that went successfully or as expected. Better than nothing, sure. But unit tests themselves are code. They have momentum. You change something in your program, your unit tests might need to be rewritten. And you can be better and worse at writing unit tests. If you're not like super good at that, you risk also unit testing internals a little bit too much. And so you change those internals, the unit test needs to be changed. If you have a bajillion unit tests, it means that even though your program is small, but if you have a bajillion unit tests, it means that the effort, like the energy required for you to be able to change your software is huge, because you have to bring your unit tests along, or you let them be throttling, you delete them. I don't know, but the unit tests are not free. But you know what is almost free? Asserts. Because an assert is like a single line, and the idea is that if you do fuzz testing, so you assert your invariants, preconditions, postconditions in an assert, and then if you do fuzz testing, and fuzz testing is the thing where a fuzzer, so a program tries random input into your program, the fuzzer will be able to trigger that assert, essentially as if it were worth, essentially making it worth even more than 1,000 unit tests if you are good at putting asserts into your program. And again, asserts are free in release mode. So they don't cost you anything really. Release fast and release mode, to be precise. Last thing is, to be fair, the Zig ecosystem is not fully ready yet for fuzzing, because we are still dependent on other tool chains like AFL, and they suck. They keep breaking all the time. So I don't blame you if you don't fuzz test today, but tomorrow, well, in the future, not too far, hopefully, there will be integrated fuzz testing in Zig. Fuzz your shit. Really, do it. It's awesome. Well, just one quick thing for people that don't know anything about fuzzing. The point is that native fuzzing in Zig will be code coverage guided. So it means they will not try completely stuff at random, not understanding anything. Will have knowledge. The fuzzer will have knowledge about which states of your program it has explored, and it will be able to use that to guide the randomized input process to discover new interesting states. And it is extremely effective. Okay, number 5. Communicate about your project at least a little bit. The idea is you're making a project and you don't have a README. That's not great. People should know. Well, first of all, somebody that stumbles upon your project should know what the project is about. They should be able to tell fairly quickly. And this is marketing. I know that people hate the idea of marketing, but also they don't think that a README is marketing. But a README is fucking marketing, and you have to get it right. So writing your README, what your project is about, tell people how to build it, how to install it, and how to use it, and even just a little bit. If you don't do this work, then nobody will use your stuff, because they will be unable to even discover what it is. And the reality is that, I don't know, maybe some of you have like the energy to really go and investigate a random repo that doesn't even have a README. But the majority of people will say, well, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go search for something else. Then, if you want to get it to the next level, take it to the next level, make a static site for your stuff, and maybe add some documentation in there. That's also nice. And if you do this, your project will get definitely more stars, more users, more contributors. It will be like a more vibrant project, and you won't be all by yourself. Or at least it will have a little bit with that. This is not all. There's more. So number 4, related to this, make your project not impossible to contribute to, and it should also be easy to build. Like in Zig, the gold standard is whatever machine Zig build, boom, it works, right? Assuming you have the correct version of Zig. That's the gold standard. It's not always possible. Sometimes you will have reasonable reasons to have system dependencies, but do try to minimize them. And if you have them, then make sure to tell people that they need those and how to get those if it's not immediately obvious. So that way you get users. How do you get contributors? A project by default is not very open to contributions because people will not be able very easily to understand what it is that you even want. It actually might even be the case that you yourself don't know what it is that you want other than the one thing that you're working on right now. So for example, I have, there's the Zig.day repository. This is the website that has all the Zig Day events, locations. And as a website, I'm maintaining it. I know that it's not perfect and it needs to be improved, but I don't know yet exactly what I want to do with it. So the chances of somebody sending APR, somebody who is not an organizer announcing a new event, but somebody third party that says, oh, I want to make this website better and add like new widgets and make it look cooler. The chances that the APR, something that I'm fine with, are extremely low, like very, very low. Don't bother. But as a counterpoint, I have the Super HTML repository where I have created issues that I mark contributor friendly, where I have already figured out the design and I explicitly wrote down what are the steps. So contributors can say, they open the issue and they see, to solve this issue, you have to edit this file, you have to do this, this, and this. The instructions are not necessarily, entirely like fully. I'm not micromanaging the contributor entirely, so there will still be some space for human creativity in there. But I write down all the parameters that are like hard requirements for me to accept their solution. So in that way, I did get good contributions to Super HTML. He's not here, but shout out to the guy who implemented language code supporting Super HTML. Like now we have a parser that can parse, en-us. You think, oh, that's easy. Well, no, it's not easy because this freaking protocol is insane. Like you're gonna have multiple. I think you're gonna have an arbitrarily long list of these things, like separated with a dash. And there's also a bunch of weird rules. So design your stuff, create issues for it, be clear with your design, and you will maybe start getting contributions. Without this is not sufficient, but it is a prerequisite for be able to have contributions. Okay, number 3, we're starting to get to the good stuff. The state of the art is not always great. So, for better or worse, Super HTML is the state of the art, and I don't say this as a particularly proud creator. I say this more as a puzzled member of the tech industry. It's 2025, almost 2026. Why has nobody written a freaking language server for HTML before that tells you when your HTML is wrong? The answer is, I don't know. Well, I mean, I do know a little bit. It's because all the people that invest in that space are startups and they want to use their stupid JavaScript framework. But the point is, it might not seem like this at first glance, but there are so many places in our industry where there is space for a lot of improvement, and the kind of improvement that can actually be made by a single individual. Like you don't need Microsoft to write a language server for HTML. I did it. It was boring as fuck, but I did it. There is probably out there a lot of things where you just get at least a little bit passionate about the subject, just as I got passionate about HTML, and you can make a lot of difference. You can even make a name for yourself if that's what you want. So don't think of the state of the art or like the state of the industry as this thing where you have no hope of ever contributing to, like, the greats are all dead and nobody will ever be as good as the greats. That's not fucking true. Number 2, be deliberate about your relationships. This one is multifaceted. So if you make a website and you put a cookie banner, you are kind of shaping the relationship with your users in a certain way. And that's significantly different than if you did not have a cookie banner. Like, why do you have a cookie banner in the first place? That's a question that I'm starting to ask myself more and more often. Or like whenever you have to sign privacy things, for example, when you go to a hotel and they want your phone number, and then I'm starting to get more and more robocalls. And so it makes me think about my relationship with these businesses. But more in general, software is a relationship between you and your users. And you should be deliberate in expressing what it is that you want out of this relationship and what it is that you're willing to give. So another example is the license of your software. If you pick an open source license for your software, you are deliberately choosing a license that you need to be at peace with the idea that you are stating that you're fine with the people that you like the least for them to use your software to do the thing that you hate the most. That's what your license entails. It doesn't mean that you have to like it, but it means that you are allowing them legally to do it. You also are allowing Jeff Bezos to take your software and make a bajillion more money out of it and not give a single cent. So if you're not fine with that, don't choose an open source license. That also, though, does not mean that you are the flip side is you don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe anybody free software. You don't owe anybody open source software. So if you want to do closed source software, fuck it, do it. But also, I'll bring up one example that I know personally about that I found particularly mind blowing. So I used to work for Redis Labs. I don't love Redis Labs, as some of you might know, but it was a good experience. And so I'm about to say something in defense of Redis Labs, but I want to be clear. Like you probably heard me shit on them way too many times. So a while ago, Anti-Res gave the repository, the website Redis.io, and gave the full Redis project to Redis Labs, and then they rebranded themselves as Redis. They finally succeeded. By the way, that was their either third or fourth time attempting it. They failed all the previous attempts. Funny story. But anyway, and people were like yapping on Twitter, "Oh my God, this is a rug pull." Oh yeah, right. And then Redis Labs eventually changed the license to Redis to a source available license. And everybody said, "Oh my God, they rug pulled the community, blah blah blah." They rug pulled nobody. I wasn't in the room, but Redis was Anti-Res's to give to somebody. He gave you a license to use specific versions of Redis for free. He did not give you, any of you, or including me, actually the full software. That's what the license states. So you don't have a right to his stuff. That was his to give or sell. I wasn't in the room. Maybe it was sold. Maybe it was given for free. I don't know. Maybe he traded it for a bottle of Spezi. But the point is, just like it was his to sell, it was Redis Labs to buy. And so they bought it. And you cannot call that a rug pull because they don't they don't owe you free software. And you as a creator, you don't owe anybody else free software either. So be aware of these because out there's a lot of people that like to manipulate your idea of what open source should be. And ultimately they do that so that free software stays digestible for the big tech companies to put in their clouds for free. But anyway, be aware of this stuff and be deliberate about your relationships. Like the last example of this that I will bring up is, for example, you remember when the log4j mess happened where there was a bug in log4j and everybody was going crazy? But the creators of log4j did not owe anything to anybody. I mean, I'm sure that it sucks when you have a bajillion people telling you that you're dumb on Twitter. But I sincerely hope that if it had been me, I would have been relaxing, doing whatever the fuck I wanted. And then maybe on Monday, if I feel like it, I'll fix it. If people wanted something else from me, they would have to have had a different agreement with me than what the MIT license said. So be deliberate about your relationships. Don't get tricked into doing things that you never sign up to do, or expect other people to give you stuff that they never agreed to give you. Number one, no water cooler complaints. So this is in quotes because the point is not just no water cooler complaints. So no water cooler complaints is a rule that I have in my Discord server. I'm not the only one that has this rule. Some other people have it. They word it maybe differently. But the idea behind no water cooler complaints is, well, the full wording on the server is no water cooler complaints. You are allowed to complain about something in proportional measure to how much effort you're spending trying to improve that thing. Because everybody can complain about anything, but it's different. It really hits different when you have skin in the game, when you are actually working to make the thing better. And it also makes you better at complaining, because you can vaguely gesture at, oh my god, this thing is bad. Well, it should be different. It should be better. But it's very different when you really know what your how can I say, you have experience with the thing, and so you know more precisely what is the small detail that could be made better, and it would be more realistic to do so. The reason why it's a rule in my Discord server, and I think it's a good rule for communities in general, is because if you don't follow this rule, you risk having a community where everybody complains about things all the time, which is worse than having a community instead that tries to actually do things to make things better. So that's the difference between, I don't know, for example, whining that terminal emulators are bad, especially in Windows, and calling a bunch of Microsoft employees dumb, versus, I don't know, what Mitchell did. Mitchell just created Ghosty, and who's using Ghosty? Yeah. Yeah, and I know that the ones who are not raising their hand, they probably, it's because they have a spreadsheet. So, but another way also of looking at this idea is that you will oftentimes stumble upon software that is suboptimal. You will find Zig libraries that have silly bugs in them. You can have this mentality and just say, oh man, this fucking library is broken, fuck this, fuck everything. Or instead, you can say, well, you know what? Okay, there's a bug, that sucks. Fork, fix the bug, add your fork as your dependency, so you unblock yourself, and then, if you want to be cool, you upstream the fix. And you know what? Even if you don't upstream the fix, it's still you're 80% of the way there. So this applies obviously to random Zig projects, but it even applies to the Zig compiler itself. You will stumble upon bugs in the Zig compiler and suboptimal things. Async is not going to be perfect when merged, most likely. So you can just say, oh man, it's broken, fuck this shit, I'm going to go and write, I don't know, C. You can do that, but you should not think yourself as a victim of these things. You are part of a group of peers, and we all make mistakes. Your software will have bugs in it that you didn't intend to hurt anybody with. And you will think that it's an overreaction if you see somebody else say, oh man, I found this bug in your library, fuck this shit, fuck that guy, I'm out of here. You will think, wait, why didn't this person just fix it for themselves? So that is the mindset that you should have, in my opinion. And this finally leads me to number 0. Of course, we also have a number 0. When talking with some people recently, I heard them occasionally say something along the lines of, oh, wow, I'm super excited about Zig. I'm happy to learn. I want to learn it more, and I want to contribute to the ecosystem. What is a good library that I could contribute to the ecosystem? This is a beautiful and misguided sentiment. Please do not do that. Please do not make libraries to contribute to the ecosystem. Please be selfish. Please scratch your own itch, make things for yourself. And if you do a good job, then other people maybe will want a piece of that. I'm right now working on a JSON replacement. You guys want my JSON replacement? No, you don't. You fucking don't, because JSON is already a pain as it is. You don't want my weirdo, broken, not supported by anybody JSON replacement. But if I do a good job enough, and you see me use it for my own stuff, and you see that I'm having a good time, maybe over time you'll think, oh, you know what? I want a piece of that. So that should be the mindset that you have. One thing that I noticed, you know what? I'll bring this point later. But here's then put this into words. Your greatest contribution to the ecosystem is being the best version of yourself. It's not contributing a package. Even a good package is meaningless in the grand scheme of things. But you being interesting to being intellectually curious, coming to events, chatting with other people, being fun to talk with, being good at mentoring people that know less than you, which doesn't mean that you have to know a ton. Everybody can be a mentor to somebody else. That is the thing that makes a real difference. And this is why Zig Days work the way they do. So this is a screenshot from the Zig.day website where we organize Zig Days. And this is not to talk ill of the Python community, but this is something that was brought up to my attention recently, where the Python community has some things that are like somewhat similar to Zig Days, but they tend to tie them to contributing to a given project. So they say, we're going to have I think they call them sprints. And they'll say, we're going to have a sprint where we all contribute to this one project and we make it better. Zig Days are not about that. Zig Days are about you. The Zig Days are about for you to have fun, for you to learn more, for you to be to strive to be a better version of yourself. So that does not mean that you should not contribute to one project, so you can do that. But Zig Days are about, like, unless somebody does a one-off special Zig Day, generally speaking, people should be working on different things at a Zig Day based on their interests. Also, this screenshot is obsolete because this screenshot is from April, and since April, we've had quite a few more Zig Days. So you haven't been on the website in a while. Yeah, that's how it looks like right now. You might have noticed also that the map is way more zoomed out because we also have Okinawa, Osaka, Japan. So I don't know if you happen to be in Japan, see if you can drop by. I will bring up though a couple special Zig Days, or rather a couple Zig Days that might be of special interest for the people here. So there's a Zig Day in Nuremberg that has been announced a few days ago, and they have announced their first event. And I think that the Nuremberg one is interesting because I mean, I'm not German, but looking at the map, the rectangle is Munich. That's where we are. The triangle, Google didn't think it was important enough to show the name, but that's where Stuttgart is. So, and then there's the circle where Frankfurt is. And I suspect that everybody can get to Nuremberg without too much buzz. I know that everybody has complaints about the trains, but it does seem feasible, for a once a month event, more or less. Another interesting one, it's Braunschweig. So this one is more northern Germany. So if anybody here happens to not live in Bavaria, but you live more in central/northern Germany, be aware that there's also that one. That's being organized by Anton, who's sitting there. So you can talk with him if you're curious about this event. Oh wait, there's also one in the UK. Oh my God. Okay, so it's not Europe, but there's also one in Bristol. In case you're interested. So the Braunschweig Zig Day already has an event organized for November 8th. And the one in Nuremberg has one announced for November 29th. So if you're interested in either, go to Zig.day, see what you have to do to RSVP. And I might be able to go to the one in Nuremberg. So if so, I'll see you there. And that's it. Thank you.
Can you go one slide back? Or was one? No, this is one too much. So the Nuremberg one.
One more?
Okay, this map is good because on the 26th of November there will be the Stuttgart meetup on Friday evening, starting at, let's say, around 18 o'clock in Gellingen, which is well reachable by autobahn or tram.
Yeah.
And it will be in the Triangle one. And it will be one day before the Nuremberg Zig Day.
Yeah.
So if you're not aware that there is a regular meetup in Stuttgart, there is one. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Great. I don't know. Any questions? Complaints? I'll take also complaints. I mean, that's fair.
So then, yeah.
Oh, there's one.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. So going back to one of your points about assertions,
yeah,
I find that point extremely interesting, especially since connecting to the talk from Tiger Beetle about that topic.
Yeah.
But until today, I haven't seen any good examples of assertion, invariant assertion, or general assertion usage for correctness in testing. Do you have any suggestions?
I don't know if I would consider it necessarily the best possible example, but if you look at my more recent work with parsers, so in Super HTML and right now in Ziggy, which is my JSON replacement, I do put a ton of assertions in there because I have been fuzzing. So I've been fuzzing my tokenizers and my parsers. For the HTML1, for example, I've been fuzzing the tokenizer with random input from the fuzzer, but then I also built a thing that takes random input from the fuzzer and generates correct tokens. So it guarantees that basically that allows me to skip the tokenization phase and fuzz the parsing phase where tokens get combined into an AST. So I've been relatively serious with this stuff, and that made me put a ton of assets in there, way more than I did in the past. So that's one example.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I will look at it definitely.
Don't look at your projects as an example of that because they don't have assets. And apparently, according to Rob Hyde, they are proud of not having assets.
I did build an assert library in Go to
you
actually, yeah, I did.
Man, you better not learn about it.
I did it because they are missing, right? And I wanted to have them. So- Go ahead.
Oh no.
Thanks, Lawrence. Great talk. Your ninth point, dependencies are technical debt.
Yeah.
I always hear never write your own authorizer because it's hard to do and you'll just fuck it up.
Yeah.
How do you draw the line between, taking a well-built, widely used, reliable library versus implementing your own from scratch?
Yeah. Obviously, if you make your own, you have like all your bugs are belong to you, which has both good and bad connotations. In my opinion, the key differentiation is how core is that piece of functionality to what you're offering. To make a non-software example, you are making a restaurant. You can outsource, interior decoration. Who cares? I mean, if you did it yourself, put more personality, would be cool. Is that fundamental? I would say no. You can outsource, I don't know, getting, tablets for orders. You don't have to do this yourself. Man, but if you outsource the kitchen, the fuck are you doing, right? So when you're making, for example, in my case, I'm making a static site generator. Everything that is core to templating, parsing, generating the output, that is something that I should own. But for example, let's say that to give you an example instead, a counter example. There's I believe it's there's an attribute that you can put on link assets where you basically put like a hash of the asset to guarantee that the asset is what you expect it to be. And then there's the hashing function. That is fine as a library because it's not something that is going to change. It's not something directly core to what I'm doing. So using it as a library, I think it's fine. So long story short, if it's something that you should be in charge of the design of, and the design has reason to be nuanced, then it should be something that you do. If, for example, authorization, I would argue is probably one of the things that it's fine to not do yourself, generally speaking, because usually authentication is fairly straightforward. Like people put a username, a password, you send out emails. The thing hopefully will allow you to personalize template how the email looks like. So as long as there is, just a little bit of customizability, usually it should serve your purposes and you shouldn't have a reason to want something different. But let's say that you have some a project where authentication is more complicated and you would like to have some form of system where people can be, I don't know, they can buy stuff and not create an account, and then in the future be able to create an account and connect their previous purchases, like something more nuanced, then maybe if the library would get in the way of that, you should replace it and write it yourself.
More questions.
I think we're good.
Oh, that one. One more.
Just a very technical question about fuzzing for the upcoming fuzzing as part of Zig. Will you support fuzzing a combination of both C code and C code?
Combination of C and Z code. That I think is a question more for Andrew than me, but I'll try to answer it wrong, and then Andrew will correct me. Let me think. So we do some instrumentation of our own stuff, but LVM does support instrumentation. Can do it also instrumentation. We do interoperate with instrumentation that LLVM does, I believe. Would that work also for C files? You know what? I don't know. Andrew, go for it.
We don't support it now, but we could if we can enable the profiling that we need through Clang flag. Then it'll work fine.
You want to fuzz Newbin?
Yeah, I mean,
You?
Looks like no more questions.
Okay.
So one thing that stuck with me was that you said you would wait until Monday until you would start thinking about fixing something. So that's something I have to work on, because if I get an issue,
I know.
there's nothing else I can think about except for this issue until I've
That is,
patched it. So
that is a natural thing a feeling to have, and it's normal. But I don't know. Maybe if you guys are curious, ask Andrew about this kind of stuff, because, for example, you understand very obviously that it's unsustainable if you have a project, for example, of the scale of Zig. There's like always going to be issues being open, and the more you close, the more will be open. So, yeah, so you get to a point where you need to be deliberate about your relationships. You need to stop and think exactly what the boundaries are, and you need to fight your instincts. It's the only way, because the alternative is that you burn out. For example, there's plenty of examples in open source, right? When people burn out, and to the point where some people even think that open source is inherently flawed. But it's not. I mean, open source as the OSI designs it, I don't know what the fuck that even is. But the general idea of writing software and giving out for free to other people, the way we generally do, it's not inherently flawed. You just need to understand what the boundaries are. In a sense, the whole core problem is that we as software engineers oftentimes are just not socially or financially knowledgeable enough to really figure these things out. That's usually the real problem.
and
We're good. Please go and make great software. Thank you.